And now let's proceed to session 7 with the title Accelerating Takafu Growth and Penetration. The moderator for this session is Mr. Muhammad Rizwan Muhammad, CEO, MTA, Malaysian Takafu Association, and our esteemed panelists, Mr. Azman Zainal Group, CEO, Syarikat Takaful Malaysia, Mr. Hassan Scott Odirno, Partner Actuarial Partners Consulting, Honorable Professor Dr. Rusni Hassan, Dean IIUM Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance, IIBF IIUM, Tuan Said Alwi Muhammad Sultan, CEO, ATEC Insure, and last but not least, Mr. Muhammad Asri Omar, CEO, Hong Leong MSIG Takafu. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, dipersilakan. Over to you, sir.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Rabbi israh li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon to distinguished panelists as well as the attendees for Kliff 2022. I'm Muhammad Razwan from Malaysian Takaful Association, and I'll be the moderator for today. And the session that we'll be deliberating and discussing will be on the topic of accelerating Takafu growth and penetration. So let me put things into perspective first. Malaysia is one of the forerunners in terms of Islamic finance and banking industry, and known for having established the most established Takafu market in the globe. Let's start by reviewing the Takafu industry progress since the birth of this industry for about 30 years ago. So the sustained demand for Takaful, especially among the Muslims, has contributed toward the growth of the industry in Malaysia. From a mere 1% market share in 1990s, we have grown now around 17.3% and 41.9% for general and family Takafu respectively. Takafu fund asset growth of 9.2% in 2021, with the total asset amounting to 46 billion as compared to 41 or 42 billion in 2020. Meanwhile, the net contribution growth is 18.5% in 2021, with total net contribution amounting to 14 billion as compared to 12 billion in 2020. And globally also, according to Deloitte Touche, the global Takaful market has reached a value of 115.7 or 116 billion in 2021, and expected to reach a 208 billion in 2027. So despite for the last 2 years, very challenging years, these positive changes and operational enhancement that we have been put in place by the Takafu industry has resulted in robust financial growth and also retention. Now, the Takafu industries in Malaysia have progressed through many transformation, regulatory changes throughout the years, and continue to evolve in order to cater for the need for the future, supported by factors such as product and service sophistication, strategic direction, technology, and talent development. So Takafu industry represents a very strong business proposition and has a significant share in the market. That nicely brings us to the topic that we want to discuss today, member panelists. So the topic which is accelerating Takafu growth and penetration. Today we have 4 instead of 5 because it was unfortunate that Mr. Hassan Scott not able to join us today because he is down with COVID. Otherwise, if time permit later on, we will also discuss the role of regulators in developing the Takafu market as per our earlier agenda. So today we're going to focus on 4 areas as I mentioned much earlier, which is demand in Takafu market, the value-based intermediation Takafu or VBIT, how technologies shaping the industries, and how the industry and academic institution partnership will be able to support the growth and talent demand. Yeah. So without further ado, let me basically introduce the panel that we have today. We have on my right Encik Noor Azman, the CEO of Syarikat Takafu Malaysia Family. Encik Noor Azman is a very experienced CEO with extensive exposure in life and family Takafu industry for over 25 years. I'm actually summarizing your earlier CV because otherwise I will spend the whole time reading your CV, okay? Including 18 years experience in 4 multinational life insurer. Prior to joining Syarikat Takafu Malaysia, basically he's the former CEO of Prudential BSN Takafu and Takafu Ikhlas Family Berhad. On my right, at the end, basically we have Encik Asri Omar, CEO of Hon Leong MSIG Takafu. Encik Asri also has a 20 years working experience in Takafu industry and holding various positions in strategy, business development, legal, secretariat, Syariah operation, and was my colleague when we were doing risk management and compliance in one of the earlier Takafu company. The second Takafu company, as a matter of fact, graduated with Bachelor of Laws and Bachelor of Laws Syariah from International Islamic University of Malaysia, also held a fellowship at Malaysian Insurance Institute. Encik Asri is currently the management of the Malaysian Takafu Association, MTA. On my left, we have Encik Syed Alwi Muhammad Sufyan, CEO of A Tech Sure. Am I basically pronouncing it correct, right? He has the most colorful CV here, right? He's an experienced C-suite with more than 24 years of professional experience across the industry, financial services, consulting, IT software. Presently the CEO for a fintech, KL-based fintech and insurtech digital application firm that offer financial solution in Islamic finance, Takafu and insurance industry. Also a board member of Perbadanan Tabung Kemajuan Kemahiran or PTPK and chairman of investment committee of that particular fund. And previously he also the president and CEO of Agrobank, a development bank that focusing on the agriculture industry, as well as regional head for Islamic finance for BNP Paribas, as well as a director of Islamic organization in Standard Chartered. Yeah? And then we have a Professor Dr. Rusni Hassan, a dean in International Islamic University of Malaysia, Islamic Banking and Finance, graduated in the Bachelor of Laws, honors as well as Sharia, Master in Comparative Laws, as well as PhD in Law. Okay, so she is the Sharia committee in a number of institutions in Malaysia, Hon Leong Islamic Bank, Etika Family, Etika General, Exim Bank, as well as IBIM. And also internationally, she is the Sharia committee for HDHC, basically Housing Development and Finance Corporation, Maldives. Yep. Okay, has written and published books, including local and international journal. Also have received many recognition, awards and accolades. So welcome all panelists and thank you for your presence today. Now to start our discussion, just a little bit of housekeeping. Each panel will be allowed to be given an input for about 10 minutes. We know that we are basically entering into the later stage of the seminar. So perhaps because of Encik Hassan absent, you can have additional 1 or 2 minutes injury time to add to your basically input. So let's start with our first panelist, ladies and gentlemen. So as I mentioned much earlier, the Takafu industry represents an important component of overall Islamic finance system. And given its role in providing the risk protection, the Takafu industry offers a suite of financial products and services to complement the existing range of available to customer. As mentioned earlier, Takafu industry has progressed through many transformation and economic situation throughout the years and continue to evolve to cater this need. However, these are not without challenge, and of course there will be a success factor that is important that we want to share with everyone. So the question would be, with the experience that you have in the industry, what are the main challenge that the company or the industry are facing in accelerating the penetration of Takafu, and perhaps if you can touch also how the industry reacts to in ensuring Takafu grows and its potential through innovation, particularly in the products, marketing, pricing, customer service, and also distribution. Please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon. First of all, I think it's going to be a heavy topic actually. Just try to keep it short. I'm just going to be talking about Takafu in the context of Malaysian market. Yeah, I think the challenges we're talking about here. First of all, we got to recognize that Takafu industry in Malaysia is only less than 40 years old. Yeah. We started back in 1985. And if you were to compare against conventional insurance, which has been around for more than 100 years in Malaysia, so surely you would see, the growth or the penetration rate is quite far off. Okay? 18% versus 50%. I think based on my observation, personally, in the context of Malaysian market, one thing that we face as company, I think as an industry, the challenges that we face today is about creating awareness among the market still. There's still a bit of a gap for people to understand the need for protection, life protection, or even against natural disasters like flood, for example. So the thing is, one thing about Malaysians, I would notice that we always take insurance or Takafu protection as not really a priority. Until disaster strikes, then we start talking or thinking about it. So that is one of the biggest challenges that we face as an industry. How do we create that awareness? Okay. Of course, we talk about other challenges, talking about products, whether we have enough products, whether we have the strengths of distribution channels to go out there, especially in the rural areas, So, but we have to thank the government. We're talking about B40. There's a lot of initiative going on right now. We're talking about Pelindungan Tenang. We're talking about, direct channel, all that. So these are addressing the need, okay, for the Malaysian market. In terms of how do we accelerate, the penetration of Takafu in the Malaysian context here, there are quite a number of things that we need to look at. One is the product. We need the right product, okay, and we need the right price, because we know today, under current market environment, the economy is a challenge. People will be looking for a cheaper product, access to affordable product. So we need a good product. And then don't forget, if you talk about, I'm specializing in life actually, yeah, life and family Takafu. If you talk about life and family Takafu, we need to make sure the process of onboarding the customers to be easy, hassle-free. So industry have to, we've been looking at all these actually. How do we define, how do we create product in such a way that you can onboard the customers quickly? So this is one of the challenges, and this is also one of the things that we need to look at in order to accelerate the market penetration. And don't forget, in Malaysia, for example, we are heavily relying on agency channel, okay, as a form of reaching out to our customers when it comes to Takafu. Okay, I think we need to ramp up. We need to create awareness among the market. that there are other channels that you can buy the product from. This is one thing which I observe, which is lacking within the industry itself, to promote the product directly. One thing is about creating the awareness, and we have to move away from product push. A lot of times today, we see people push the product rather than people create the awareness, because there are two different things actually. We need to ask ourselves, what can the product do for us? We're not talking about the features of the product. We are talking about what can the product do for us. So this is something which I observe a bit lacking in the market today. So these are the things that we need to overcome in order to accelerate. And one thing good, I think the most recent developments in Malaysian insurance and Takafu market is about the DITOs, digital insurance and Takafu operator, because this would create a lot more competition out there, and we hope to see a lot more affordable products, faster onboarding customers to accelerate the growth of the Takafu market. Okay, so these are among other things that I can share with you, as industry practitioner for the last maybe 20 over years. Right, sir?
Okay, there are two things that struck to me just now when in your answer just now. First is you're talking about the product, cheaper versus affordable. How to differentiate between cheap product and affordable product?
Okay.
It sounds the same.
Yeah. They are not the same actually. At the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves, it goes back to the fundamental question, what can the product do for you? What is the need? We need to go on a need-based selling rather than a product push. I give you one very fine example, which is a very popular product nowadays. A flavor of the market, I think. We talk about hibah, for example, right? And IFSA is helping us to drive that actually. And I mean, in the Malaysian context, Faraid can be a challenging topic to talk about. So that's the reason why people create hibah product, So those are the things that we need to plant, or we need to tanam in the minds of our Malaysian market. We need to educate a lot more. So cheaper doesn't mean affordable, because we have different market segments here. We're talking about B40, we're talking about M40, lower N40, we're talking about M40 upper, and we talk about T20. Every segment has different needs and different affordability. I'm trying to generalize here. If I were to talk in every segment of the market, I think it's going to take another half an hour.
Hello? Yeah, so basically we are talking about a meaningful product for the customer. It does not necessarily need to be cheap, but it's within the means of the customer. Because for Takafu, basically we are looking into these 3 A's: affordability, availability, and accessibility of the Takafu product. And basically in your answer just now, you are covering some of it. But with regards to the accessibility, you did mention that there is a lot of dependence on agency channel in creating a new business. I would like to take your attention to the survey or a market study that MTA conducted quite recently among the BM40. This is the market segment that we look into the top 20% of the B40 and the bottom 20% of the M40. Why we are focusing on this market segment? Because these are the ones that most impacted during the COVID-19 recently, and they have a chance in the endemic situation where we are recovering of going out from the situation and start to be independent. And we hope that basically by understanding the preference of this group, we'll be able to come out with the products or services that can suit to them. To our surprise, even though most of the people that we study are basically a young family, youngsters, teenagers, gig workers, while they have a very high tendency of adopting technologies in their day-to-day life, basically, like for example, they have a very high preference for e-wallet and so on and so forth. But when it comes to what are the biggest contributing factor that contribute to their decision to purchase a protection, 80% says agents or agency. So meaning to say, even though that this young family or youngsters, they are basically technologically savvy and more inclined toward that, but when it comes to purchasing the Takafu insurance, they need somebody to talk to, they need somebody to basically advise them. Why is that so? Is that because the product are too complicated that they need somebody to basically guide them, or what?
My view, I think we are partly guilty of it as industry practitioners. You know, we tend to create complex products. I'm a product person. I'm a specialist in product for many, many years. You know, I'm guilty. Part of it. You know, we talk about, I mean, you know, before we came to this room, actually, we talk about structured product, for example. It's a very complex investment, the underlying investment below the Takafu protection. You know, we talk about, for example, investment link. You know, it's quite a complex product to explain to the customers. So that's the reason why I said earlier on just now, we need to design a product which is, sometimes it goes back to basic, which is important. Easy for customers to understand. I'll give you a very simple example. How do you find motor insurance or motor Takafu? It's easy, right? We know the features are comprehensive, third party, you know, and then NCD, no claims discount, that kind of stuff. It's very easy to understand, and it's compulsory. The same mindset, the same philosophy needs to be adopted when it comes to designing life or family product. You know, in order for us to quickly get customers on board, which is basically is going to accelerate the market in a way. Okay.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, definitely there's a lot of sharing there. I wish I had more time basically to drill in this, because product and services is the crowd of the thing. But in a nutshell, we are talking about simplicity is the future of the Takafu product. And perhaps one day we will move from value for business to value for money for the customer, rather than just look into a very high profit, low claim ratio. We're looking at maybe higher claim ratio and, you know, more even or more operationally efficient expenses, and also lower profit, so that we can give back the value to the customer. Thank you very much, Chen Azman, on your sharing there. Our second panelist, we talk a particularly important aspect of accelerating the growth and penetration, because it boils down to strategy. If we set the wrong strategy, basically, it's not only the company, the whole industry will be affected. And for that, basically, yeah, for company, all the company, I'm very sure everyone is familiar with your strategic planning and retreat and everything. But how about the industry? Does the industry need a strategic direction? With that, basically, I want to invite Encik Asri to look into the value-based aspect of Takafu. You know, for the past year, this has been the priority in the country, Islamic finance. Following Bank Negara leads in 2021, basically, we have launched a VBIT, which is the value-based intermediation Takafu. And 1 year after that, this year, June 2022, we have come out with the roadmap. If you like to basically view the roadmap as well as the framework for Malaysian Takafu value-based, you can go to vbitakafu.com, where you can download it, particularly for our friends from overseas. This is something that we would like to promote. And I'm very sure the document is interesting, as simple enough for you to basically look. So today, Encik Asri going to just give a little bit of a gazette or a snippet in terms of how VBIT will set the direction for the industry. When I joined MTA, there's a lot of questions about, hey, Razwan, how are you going to stop this from being practicing? How are you going to stop that? I said, I have no answer. You have been in the industry longer than me, basically. But then when I look into the VBIT framework, I told my fellow basically members that I have no answer for you, but if we basically have the same direction that we are heading, inshallah, at one point we will we will work our acts together and start to basically live up to the aspiration of this framework, which is to have the new Takafu landscape that is creating value not only to the country, to the society, and also to the industry, in line with our principle of Islamic maqasid Sharia, basically. Now, Encik Asri, in strengthening the roles and impact of the Takafu players toward this sustainable financial ecosystem, we familiar about ESG, SDG kind of thing. Let's hear from you how VBIT will lead, for an improved suite of products and services, right? For a better offered by the Takafu operator for the community well-being as well as the sustainable environment and economic growth without compromising the shareholder interest or the stakeholder interest, as how we call it in VBIT. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My colleague, distinguished speakers, all the participants, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to all of you. Also, not to forget, I would like also to thank the organizer and all the sponsors for this meaningful event. I think this is the first year we are having it physical after we all were struck by MCOs for the past 2 years, right? Okay, I think that is a very relevant, very valid question by the moderator in terms of VBIT. As the name suggests, the key words there is values. So when we are talking about values for Takaful, I think we have to look at where we are and having some realization about what we have gone through and what we are still not having it, so that we have clarity about how we want to move on forward for the acceleration of our growth. But before I give some of my thoughts about it, I think it will be meaningful also to know what are the real objective in terms of the acceleration that we want to achieve. So if we are looking at where we are now in terms of the performance of Takaful industry, after 38 years, not yet 40, I think 2 more years, we are celebrating 40th years of the existence of Takafu. So we are still hovering at the rate of below 20% penetration. And that was actually even after so much of struggle. We want to move from a very long number of years that we were stuck at 14, we climbed up close to 15, then we came down to 14 something again, tried again, then came down again, and I think last 2 years was a very meaningful experience where we climbed up to be above 18%. But yet, okay, the main issue will still be what is our potential. So our potential, looking into the population of Malaysia, we are having more than 30 million number of people in Malaysia. And if we segment it by looking into the main target of Tagafu, we are having more than 60%, or probably it's not wrong to say 70% of our populations are Bumis. So theoretically, Bumis will go for Takafu. But looking at the rate of insurance, yes, they exist for a longer number of years as compared to Takafu. But with the strength that we are supposed to have in Takafu, the penetration is hoped to be at a much better level in the near future that we are planning. So a little bit, some more drill down when we did some research conversation from the parties who are involved in our business. One of it is through the research that was mentioned by the moderator. We know that among the key challenges are still awareness, understanding that blocks people's minds to appreciate Takafu. I mean, even to differentiate between Takafu and insurance, they are still not clear what more to appreciate. And probably another one is the affordability issue, where lower segment community or society will have a very least option of what to look for and what to take for their need. And next will be what then lead to the situation also, the limited options in terms of product or type of services that Takafu can offer in view of the fact that all the commitments that comes under or as financial product will have to be in the form of exchange of commitment. What they pay then will be translatable into what we can offer. So with the focus of coming out with the product that has to be distributed, hence the cost will be one of the factors. So next is probably the challenge about the quality of the service that we are also not at the optimal level yet. In view of that, probably the visibility, the understanding, or the interest or desire to know more about Takafu were not well triggered. And the issue after that also not so alien to hear that the efforts to actually do a collective initiative with the organization that have access to a large crowd will always be deemed as we are trying to just do business instead of wanting to make sure that people are having what they need for in terms of protection. Hence, I think this is very timely for us to do a reflection at the industry level with the proper guidance and also the consultation by the regulators. We came out with VBIT subsequent to the first discussion paper and also some conversation and communication with Bank Negara after so many rounds. Last year, we came out with value-based intermediation for Takafu framework. So the intention, the key intentions are actually to enable us to deliver the values that help to eliminate the challenges that I mentioned at the earlier part of my answer to the moderator's question just now, in relation to a few angles that involve product affordability, quality of services issue, access, and reachability to the product. So in order to make sure that this could be well embraced by the Takafu operators with common understanding with all the other stakeholders, be it the board, the society, the members of the management, and also, of course, the regulators. We have come up with the framework that defines what are the components of the value-based intermediation for Takafu, or mostly we abbreviate it with VBIT. So among the key things, I think in these very limited times, I just would like to highlight about our key objective of coming out with this is to frame our strategy so that it will drive our efforts and enable our mind to devote our commitment into coming out with the steps that enable the industry to deliver product and services that is aligned with the maqasid of Sharia. That is non-negotiable in view of the fact that we are the Islamic financial institution. The maqasid of Sharia is actually the essence of all the objectives that we should have in whatever we do. So this maqasid Sharia will be the core driver, but the intention or objective of achieving VBIT is mainly underpinned by four thrusts. One is to deliver financial resilience among our society. So when I say financial resilience, of course, it talks about the ability to bounce back in every difficulties that the members of society will have to go through in their life, be it the flood, the loss of the breadwinner in the family, so on and so forth. Next to it is to empower our community to select the best that fit, the best product that fit their purpose, because every member of society will fall into certain bracket of phase in life, depending on a few factors, mainly their affordability level, their type of work, probably their age, and also the level of commitments that they may already have at the point when they consider us. And the two that I mentioned earlier, the two main thrusts are actually what we are committed to deliver, hence we need to do more. But at the same time, in order to make sure that we are shumul or we are comprehensive in the actions that we are doing, so we have to also pay attention to the next thrust, which is the best conduct. So not just to come to a problem of pushing a product just because we believe. We have to make sure that the conduct in delivering the product that has value will always be part of the process in coming up with what we think better serve the need of the customers. And the next thrust, which is equally important, is the self-governing among us, where we have to come up with what will be the parameters for us to follow through, well guided by the principle of the maqasid al-Sharia, and make sure that we are always have the check and balance in order to make sure that what we are doing is not temporary or interim, but it is more of a sustainable series of efforts that will bring us to a new landscape of the Takafu industry in the near future. So after the industry came out with the framework in June last year, and recently we even draw the roadmap of how we are going to implement that. And I think for your further clarity, you can visit Malaysian Takafu Association website and have access to it. But anyway, I have shared with the Secretariat some of the slides to exhibit some part of the key things in the framework and also roadmap for your consumption. So not only about that trust, guided by the principle, we will continue to measure ourselves, and we will come to the point that we have the ability to be transparent to the people out there about what we have done, what we have achieved, so that it will always be measurable along the way. And we are targeting that by middle of 2025, we are coming to shaping the industry to behave differently in order to make sure that we better address the issues about people not aware, people don't understand, our ability to serve is limited with just a few products. Reachability to the customers will also be far more better than now, because we will diversify our reachability to the customers, including building new partnership with the organization, the community centers, and whatever that can give us the avenue to talk to the customers in order to handhold them into understanding the Takafu better than what they have been experiencing so far.
Yeah, and if
So,
I can,
yeah,
if
probably I just
add-
stop there.
Yeah, you have to because now we have a limited time for today,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But if I can add to that, basically, you touched two very interesting areas. One is the Maqasid Sharia, and secondly, on the framework and the roadmap itself. One thing that I realize is that what the WBIT framework has set is not a destination. It's basically setting a journey of which when you reach the destination, instead of putting a KPI in terms of these are the market growth or whatever that you want to achieve, you will know when we reach the element of this new Takafu landscape that we are aspiring, where we have Takafu for all, where we have innovation of products that is basically covering all aspects of life. As I mentioned much earlier, last year we have a very big growth of about 30%, especially from the family. However, when we conduct the study, it seems that there is still a very big gap in terms of protection for example, the B40 and the lower M40. So while there is growth, it's definitely concentrated on one segment of the, for example, society. And WBIT are there basically to change all that, in terms of products and services. And then another thing that I received a comment basically when we coming out with this WBIT framework is that previously the Takafu industry here in Malaysia, we've been governed by two documents. One is the Sharia governance framework, and another is the Takaful operational framework, which we term as the physical of the Takaful. So where is the spiritual part side of the Takaful? This is where VBIT basically come in play. And thank you, Encik Asri, basically for your insight just now and for your kind enough to also come out with this handout for the participant. And as mentioned, do visit our website, do go to wbitakafu.com to get more details. Now, the third very important component,
Thank you.
Component of the growth is definitely technology. I just came from Ministry of Health, a white paper, basically a session yesterday, and one of the things that Yang Berhormat Menteri basically mentioned is that the purchase of new technology is a necessity for us to move forward. That is from the health point of view, and it is applicable into all. It have been providing, the impulses to the financial system, and in response to the pandemic, for example, it is actually a bad thing, but one good thing that pandemic is arising is accelerating the adoption of the technologies in the financial sectors. And with the launch of the financial sector blueprint quite recently, there is basically a huge emphasis on digitization as one of the strategic thrusts that we will basically try to achieve by year of 2026. Now, digitization in financial sector is definitely important. Let's hear from an expert, Encik Syed Alwi Muhammad Sultan, on how technology can help to accelerate Takafu industry in reaching its true potential. It's not that our competitors are not basically, using the technology too, but how it will make Takafu as a different pace, perhaps, Encik Asri.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Brother Razwan, for the introduction. Thank you to the organizers. It gives me honor and pleasure to be part of a distinguished panel of speakers. This one? Right. So first and foremost, when we talk about digitalization, we talk about innovation, we talk about technology, we have to be very clear to appreciate and differentiate between the technologies that underpin innovations and the innovations and digitalization that has been powered by these technologies. Yeah. So when we talk about technologies, we are typically talking about the ABCD of fintech: artificial intelligence, block data, blockchain, big data, cryptography, distributed ledger. These are the ABCD of the technologies that have helped to bring about innovations. And the innovations we're talking about are the likes of machine learning, cryptocurrency, we're talking about digital wallets, and so on and so forth. Yeah? So this is important to differentiate first and foremost, so that we don't get it wrong, even though we use it interchangeably. And this is important because when we use Sharia opinions, we're talking about the products and innovations rather than the technologies per se. Yeah? Now, within the insurance and takaful industry, technology innovation is typically known as insurtech or takaful tech. Yeah? Now, the investments into insurtech has been so pervasive to the point that in 2021 alone, investments in insurtech have been to the tune of 3.2 billion US dollars. And this is expected to grow on a compounded annual growth basis of 51.7% over the next 10 years. So imagine investments into insurtech are growing at such a huge amount, which shows the importance of insurtech or technology into the insurance and takaful industry. And I'll leave you with 2 or 3, depending on the time that we have, yeah? A couple of observations of how insurtech is changing the landscape of insurance and takaful. First takeaway is the impact of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Yeah? Artificial intelligence and machine learning is used so widely in delivering solutions or takaful solutions so that it can improve service efficiency, it can improve customer service, and it can boost sales. Now, if you look at any website, if you go to any website of takaful or even insurance companies, or even any companies that offer their solutions through their website or an app, you don't find any longer a number that you can call for customer complaints or customer queries. What do you find? You find a chatbot. And more advanced websites will have a virtual assistant, a VA. And takaful companies typically will have, or rather most websites will have a female-looking virtual assistant. And normally the names will start with the alphabet A. Aida, Aisha, Alia, Anissa. Because the alphabet A gives the impression that this is an A-level service. That is why people with their name starting with A, like Alwi, they're good, you know. Or even Azman, or even Aziz, you know. But that's the psychology, or rather the, what do you call, the subliminal or the subconscious effect that these websites are trying to create. But virtual assistant will help you to solve problems quickly, will reduce your call time, and hence resolve issues much quicker, improve customer service, and more complex issues can be resolved by the human interaction. This improves brand loyalty. And in certain instances, it brings repeat customers, boosts sales. That's the impact of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And nowadays, if there are car accidents, and the biggest problem in insurance in car accidents is fraudulent claims. Yeah? So artificial intelligence is now being used to ensure that this is called the telematics technology that are built into cars, so that it can detect the exact time, location, venue of the accident, so that it reduces fraudulent claims, mitigates the risk of falsely paying for claims. This is the impact of artificial intelligence. Yeah? Now, next is the health. Oops, how do I go back? Next is on the healthcare industry, right? The healthcare industry is a key component of the insurance and takaful industry. It took about 25% of the insurtech investments went into the healthcare industry. The healthcare industry, the medical care industry, and the insurance and takaful industry have a symbiotic relationship, because as more technology improves the quality of medical services, it is better for the insurance companies. Because the insurance companies will be able to price risks better with the data points from the health care industry. So that is why when you are asked by insurtech companies or insurance companies or Takafu companies or medical providers to wear certain devices or wearables or certain patches that can read your data, don't refuse. Adopt those wearables, adopt those devices, because your data is being channeled to produce better information on your healthcare, on your age, your level of health lifestyle, because that data will go towards improving the lifestyle of the human race. It can help to improve the medical care, and it can improve the insurance products and services at the right price. You will contribute data to the betterment of the human race. That is how machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the insurtech industry is helping to reshape the landscape of the healthcare industry. Now, the next point, and my final point before I talk about ATAC Insure, is the gig economy. What COVID-19 did was, or the pandemic, it created a dramatic tectonic shift to the way people react, behave, interact, social activities, and also business activities. Yeah? One of the biggest things that came about from COVID-19 is the gig economy. Nowadays, we don't buy nasi lemak from the stall outside our house. We don't drive to a mamak stall to buy roti canai. We don't have to go to PKNS Mall in Shah Alam to buy tudung. We don't have to go to Jalan Masjid India to buy baju Melayu during Raya. We do it online. That is how pervasive the gig economy is. You don't buy insurance, your car insurance and road tax from Post Malaysia any longer. You can now go to ATAC Insure platform, which is called myeasycover.com. Now, this paradigm shift is taking place. As this paradigm shift is taking place, I was fortunate enough to be part of a team involved in setting up a digital platform that can offer Takafu solutions for the Malaysian society. And we were looking at this from two premises, or the business model is based on two premises. Number one, the household debt to GDP is on an increasing level, or in 2020, it reached its peak at 93%. It has slid down, it has edged down slightly this year, last year, and this year, but it is still at about 88, 89% of GDP. And that is quite alarming, number one. Number two, it is creating a destabilizing effect to the bottom segment of society, right? Especially the vulnerable segments of society. So these are the two premises of the business model. The question is, how do we solve their problem? How do we ease their financial burden and yet allow them to undertake their fixed expenses? We're not talking about giving financing or loans for them to purchase what they want. We want to help them to achieve their financial needs of what they need. That was the objective. So we had to choose. We had to choose a target segment that we can experiment with this business model. And the target segment that we chose was government servants on a first phase basis. So our study showed that the civil servants have very little savings left on a month-to-month basis. And when on a yearly basis, the insurance or Takafu of the car, or vehicle insurance or auto Takafu renewal comes about, they would not have sufficient savings to fork out those funds or those to purchase the insurance. They would need to borrow, friends, relatives. Worst case scenario, they need to borrow from loan sharks. This is a social ill. This is a social problem that we want to solve. So the challenge was, how can we ease their financial burden, increase their well-being, and at the same time tackle their fixed expenses? So we came out with ATAC Insure, as the company came out with a flagship solution which is known as myeasycover.com. Now, there are lots of websites, platforms that offer purchasing of insurance through their platform. But our differentiating strategy is for our target segment, which is the government servants. We provide them with an interest-free, Qard Hasan-based loan for them to use or apply to purchase their insurance. This has never been done before in Malaysia. A customer who wants to purchase or renew the insurance or auto Takafu can visit our website, obtain an interest-free loan, and without having to pay a single cent upfront, can get their cover note within 5 minutes using the digital platform. And over the next 10 months, their salary deduction will be deducted to repay the premium or the Takafu contribution until it is settled off. not a single cent extra is taken, no profit charges, no interest charges, no surcharge charges. It is an interest-free loan for the betterment, for the benefit of the B40 society. Have we achieving financial, removing financial burden from the society? Yes. Is this an Islamic solution end-to-end from Takafu right up to court loan? Yes. Is this providing solution through a digital platform at the ease of the customers, at the comfort of their fingertip? Yes. This is Islamic finance. This is social finance. This is digital finance. This is sustainable finance. This is an experiment in how we can fusion together Islamic digital, Takaful tech, and also sustainable finance together.
Thank you.
And my last point, I know. This program or this product was elevated. It was launched on 1st of July by the Honorable Prime Minister, and it has been rebranded by the government as a government-led initiative. It is now known as Program Pembiayaan Insurans Kenderaan Keluarga Malaysia for the benefit of Keluarga Malaysia. The challenge given to us is expand the government, the target segment from government servants to the rest of Keluarga Malaysia. That is our mandate. Pray for us. Inshallah, we will achieve our target. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you very much. So basically, we have covered 3 key components. Unfortunately, as I mentioned much earlier, Encik Hassan Scott are not able to attend. Otherwise, we will look into the regulatory side. So when we come out with the BBIT framework, we identify 4 underpinning trusts, which is the financial resilience, community empowerment, best conduct, as well as good professional practice. But then, along the way, we find a very important component, which is the people, and therefore we come up with the 5th trust, which is, the talent capability. So, to cut it short, so that Dr. Rusni have enough time to basically cover in this aspect, please go ahead, Professor, in terms of how basically we can work together, the industry and academic institution can work together to basically partnership towards supporting the growth, the talent demand that we need for the growth that we are inspiring. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeradwan. Thank you very much, everyone here who have been throughout 2 days, but persevere listening to me in particular, and then all of us panel members today. Now, I will go directly, because of the time, on the points that I would like to highlight, and in response to the questions that Encik Radwan posed just now. I will come into the conclusion, wrapping up the points just now. But what I'm going to share with everyone today, okay, before the wrapping up and then concluding on the point, is that sharing some information about Islamic finance education and talent in Islamic banking and finance in Malaysia, we shall also definitely include Takafu. Yeah. So, okay. So now, when we talk about Islamic finance education, and in this context of discussion, really believe that when we talk about sustainability of Islamic finance, we need education, we need to ensure sustainability of Islamic finance, because without talent, then I would say, where are we having Islamic finance in a way? So now I'm looking into the perspective of Malaysian, of which Islamic finance education in Malaysia, of course, if Refinitiv have come out with the reports as regard to Islamic finance education, of which Malaysia ranked number 2, Indonesia ranked number 1. Right? Okay, because in terms of the number of programs offered by Indonesian Islamic finance higher institution or education institutions, there are more. But today, I'm looking into the context of Malaysia, because that report, I believe, that have been read by many of us. Now, we, however, are not really aware of what is the position of Islamic finance education in Malaysia. Now, to initiate this, what we call it, to share this information, ICFA, International Council of Islamic Finance Educators in Malaysia, of which I am, the ESCO. I am the vice president and also the advisory for ASAS and whatnot. To us, we believe that this information need to be shared by others. Then we are able to see that actually what is our position as regards to Islamic finance. Now, as of now, we have 217 Islamic finance education programs in Malaysia. That is the data that we get from, I think the latest was 2019. Okay? As of 2019, we have 217 Islamic finance education, for 4 levels of programs starting from diploma, bachelor's, master's, as well as PhD levels. And these programs are offered by 62 institutions. Now, don't be surprised that Islamic finance education has been offered not only by the universities. We have private, we have, of course, public university like myself, for example, and many of us, public university, IUM, okay, UKM, USM, and whatnot, but also private private universities as well. They're very competitive because 40 of private institutions also offering Islamic banking and finance program. And what is very interesting is that not only at the university level, but also the polytechnics and college community, they are also offering programs on Islamic banking and finance. Because they know the demand is there, they would like to share the knowledge, and then they would like to produce graduates that are relevant to the industry. Okay? And the concern at our level, educators, is that, we have about 400 educators. 400 educators based on the survey that we have conducted. And then, of course, with the 400, we believe that inshallah, these educators will be able to produce good graduates. But some concern in terms of the level of knowledge of the educators themselves, particularly the institution or the educators who do not have the link, okay, to the Islamic finance industry. Yeah? So we found also situation of which educators are not exposed. And then in terms of the knowledge on Islamic finance that they convey to their students, there could be some issue and concerns over there. So works need to be done. And I believe we are not talking about us only doing this job, but all of us. Because we want to have the graduates who are, if the workforce who come to institution, to our organization with a good knowledge, rather than we need to explain what is the truth to them. We do not need to explain, Takafu is based on, it's not that level at the, at the institution or the Takafu operators, for example, to do that, to do such a thing. Now, in terms of the talent in Islamic finance education, majority of the educators are senior lecturers. We have associate professors, we have professor, and also the lecturer. The numbers are there. But the biggest portion are senior lecturer. Professors are only 14%. The good thing from the survey, from the findings, is that most of Islamic finance educators, those are senior lecturers, they are still relatively young in age. So not like me. I'm towards the end already, So they are young, so there are a lot of potential for them to move forward. So we need to give them proper in terms of exposure, upskilling of their knowledge, enhancement and whatnot. And inshallah, they will be then the educators who guide and then to provide, I would say, good and then, quality education to Islamic finance graduates. The challenge that we face on the Islamic finance educators is that we do not have the educators with interdisciplinary knowledge. Yeah? Interdisciplinary knowledge. Because the nature of education, if, for example, a professor expertise or the area of expertise in governance like me, I'm very much focused on governance. If I am in Islamic capital market, I may have, an issue with Takafu, for example. What more when we are talking about fintech? It's a new area of which, to us is very far reach, but then we need to be, as educators, we need to be persevering ourselves and then move forward to ensure that we have good knowledge that we can, give to our graduates. Now, what are the research focus that we do have by the educators in Islamic finance? Now, IUM ranked as number 1, because that is the data. Show that because the number of professors, the biggest number of the professors, most programs, and then in terms of the researchers, top 10 of researchers on Islamic finance, 4 or 5 of them are from IUM. And in particular, IUM Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance, of which I am, and then many of my colleagues are here. The purpose of the establishment of this IBF or triple IBF is actually for the purpose of enhancing Islamic finance education. Yeah? Now, that bibliometric analysis shows the area of focus of Islamic finance educators. Okay? And IUM is a good example of where it's quite comprehensive. Unfortunately, Takafu is very small there. Yeah? Means that educators, we need to do more research on Takafu. It's there, but not as big as other products, Islamic governance, and so on and so forth. Now, to me, to the captains, Takafu captains, okay, then something that you need to kind of spark the interest of educators to do research on Takafu. Yeah. In SIF, I put this because there are other universities, of course, in the research. In SIF, research proved to be more market-driven. In SIF, research are more market-driven. USIM research are strong on halal management. That's from the study, the data, halal management. They have young researchers. They explore more in terms of expanding the research area. UUM in Islamic management, Islamic business. That is on UUM. UKM, surprisingly, from our research, okay, there are not much interest on accounting, on Sharia. I'm a bit surprised, but that was the finding. Yeah? Okay, so that is among other, there are other, but we call it findings. You can refer to the MIFER that ICP have produced, have published. MIFER is Malaysian Islamic Finance Education Report. Okay, now, move forward, on graduate employability. When we talk about Islamic finance education, graduate employability is always an issue. Now, the research shows that from PhD, master's, but undergraduate is a bit concerned. Okay, the best in terms of employability are PhD. But the reason could be most of PhD in Islamic finance, they are those who are working, either as a lecturer, as academician, or the industry players. And they pursue their study at PhD level. So, in terms of their graduate employability, they are good. We have no concern. And most of them are professionals. Okay? And so, after their PhD, they maintain their job, or they may be promoted and move on to another place and whatnot. Now, for masters, okay, the number in terms of what we call it employability is good. However, there is a concern in terms of, even though some of them are associate or what we call it separate professional, okay, but there are some of them are doing clerical job, which is is kind of downgrading of their qualification. And the most alarming, what we call it, data that undergraduate, majority of them, they got the job in clerical and whatnot, which are not really suitable to their qualification. Their income is also very low because it ranges between 1 to 2,000. As compared to PhD, the range of their what we call it, income is 10,000, is around that. Last but not least, to me, the talent which is also important is that Sharia committee members and Sharia officers. These are the data from ASAS, Association of Sharia Advisors. And this also include Takafu. We have 213 positions to be filled, but only 128 to 143 current SM members. But in terms of Sharia officers, we have 316 Sharia officers. This is the data as of 218. Last but not least, to me, when I look into the perspective of Islamic education, Islamic finance education, we go into the basic and the fundamentals of what education is all about. Education is to make us aware and awake. We as a servant of Allah, and that is the most important, and then we contribute to others. And again, a thought-provoking one, that Islamic finance, Islamic education or Islamic finance education should instill better adab in us. Wallahu alam. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rusni. And due to the time constraint, basically there will be no wrap up, there will be no Q&A, but feel free to basically, contact any of us through the organizer. So we will try our best to answer the question. And with that, I would like to thank you all for your participation, and hopefully those attendees also will have some benefit arising from our session just now. With that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. We would like to invite Encik Abdul Aziz Abdul Jalal to present the mementos. Can you have one pose? All speakers and moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for our moderator and speakers. With that, I thank you all. Jazakumullahu khairal jaza.